His wife is attempting to contact me after we had an affair that led to my being pregnant. I really am such a fool. A few years back, I, a 26-year-old woman, had an affair with a married 42-year-old guy. I was unaware that he was married when I initially met him and began dating him. Naturally, I looked him up on social media, and although he had photos of his kids on there was absolutely no reference to his wife or any images of her. About a month after we first started dating, I was shocked to learn that he was married. But he told me that their marriage was only a legal one, and that in reality, their lives were very different. For pragmatic considerations, they decided to stay married until the kids were older. She was the one who actually operated the company, while he was simply interested financially in it. They owned a corporation together. Although I was aware at the time that I probably shouldn't have believed him, I managed to persuade myself that it was actual. I was in my early 20s when I got so connected to him, and I couldn't help but feel that I was practically in love with him. It was because of him that I felt so much better. My present understanding tells me that I ought to have canceled it right immediately, but at the time I was clueless of what I was getting myself into. As a result of all of the attention he gave me, the beautiful sex, and the places he would take me, I became addicted to him. I was in a special mood. I was very innocent. I discovered I was pregnant after dating him for almost a year. I had always taken great care not to get pregnant before then, but I made a number of dumb mistakes when I was seeing him. It's embarrassing how much I was in love with this guy when we were together. I would almost always comply with his requests when they came from me, even if I knew they weren't well thought out. I thought I was falling in love with him, kind of, prior to now. But I had never planned on being pregnant. Of course, my fantasies included becoming his wife and raising a family, but I knew that while he was carrying out this arrangement with his existing wife, this would not be an option for me. Despite my want for us to be a real, committed partnership, I did not intentionally become pregnant with the intention of him abandoning her for me. I didn't do this action because I desired a family. The degree of enthusiasm I had about carrying his child was surprising. I wanted that child, as soon as I found out I was pregnant. The idea of carrying this baby of his was really emotional to me, even though I knew he probably wouldn't feel the same way about carrying the child of the man I loved. He informed me that I would not be able to keep the child when I told him I was pregnant. Although I was prepared for his response, I was deeply hurt by the fact that he did not share my feelings and was completely saddened. He offered to pay for it, to make a whole weekend out of it by taking me somewhere exciting, to purchase me something lovely, and to arrange everything if I would only get rid of the kid. How the heck do you do this? He clarified that he did not want any more kids and that he could not openly be a father to another child while he and his spouse continued to act as though they were happy marrieds to the outside world. I caved and did what he asked, and we worked out a plan for him to come get me and drive me to a place outside of town so we could finish the job. Even though the night before he was meant to pick me up, I had everything packed, I still started to feel really scared and anxious about the whole thing. I couldn't go with him, so I packed my bags and checked into a hotel so I could stay undercover. I texted him and said I would never talk to him again. I would never identify him as the child's father, and I would never go after child support if he had promised to leave me alone. When I first went to him, he tried to talk me into doing what he wanted. In addition to telling me not to contact him or knock on his door going forward, he said other pretty nasty things. Right now, I have a 2-year-old child. We are doing the best we can, overall, even if the situation has been difficult at times. I have not complied with my pledge to not name him the child's father, or to submit a child support request. His wife sent me a message on social media. She is no longer his wife, however. She wants to talk to me and engage in discussion. She told me that she had divorced him 6 months before we met when she found out about me. She is excited for my child to meet his siblings, just as her children are anxious to meet their siblings. That seems odd to me. I have not replied to her yet about my communication. I'm not sure how to handle this circumstance. How should I respond to this? She claims to be being honest about that, but I can't help but wonder if it would be selfish of me to ignore the chance that my child will get to meet his brothers. Should my husband have fathered a child outside of our union while we were married, I doubt I would feel the same bad feelings she does. Remarks that are important to make. I had no idea he was married when we first started dating. In the initial remark, I acknowledged that instead of waiting till later, I should have ended the connection as soon as I found out he was married. The reason it seemed like less of an issue was that I allowed myself to believe what he told me, as though he and his spouse had reached a consensus over this issue. My feelings told me that I was already hooked. This is not a justification from me. It would be an understatement to say I was happy to bring a baby into this situation. A wide spectrum of emotions was evident. I thought I was falling in love with him at first, so there was a part of me that was excited. I remained convinced that I loved my child even if I no longer felt that way. My purpose was to remove myself from his life and the lives of his family. I did this because I believed that this was the greatest thing that I could accomplish. Right now, all I wanted was to be able to appreciate and keep my baby. I wasn't actively attempting to become pregnant. While I wasn't using birth control at the time, I had used it when I was a little younger, and it caused me to have serious health problems that could have killed me. I knew that I didn't take birth control. He enjoyed his sex carefree. I made a vow to follow through because I was so stupid. I would almost do anything sexual if he asked me to. I tried to monitor my cycle and let him know when it was probably not a smart idea to go on. To be honest, I'm not worried about his marriage. Whatever it is she wants to say to me, in any event, is most likely merited and even more so. Add one more remark. He found out about the pregnancy earlier than when I ghosted him. Moreover, not even the tiniest serious discussion about our plans for the pregnancy occurred when we found out I was having his child. We were going to follow his instructions, and everything was going to work out as he had planned. He texted me threats, in addition to calling and leaving voicemails. When I informed him that I would not be traveling with him on this abortion vacation, he went irrational and begged me to please not make me go. I agreed to never speak to him again in exchange for his allowing me to go. He threatened me again, saying he would do something if I broke my word, and that's when we came to an arrangement. He has completed his responsibilities and hasn't made any attempt to contact me. Third, make a statement. Assuming she is the person in question, I have been operating under the assumption that she found me on her own, maybe came across anything on his phone or computer, and that she has probably known about me for some time before reaching out to me. That man is not the father of my child, despite my understanding of what some people are saying about siblings and other related subjects. He may be the father of his elder children, but my child's child is not his. In the future, I hope to have additional children, even though I'm still young. The other children I would have would be my son's siblings. My aspirations are great for finding a mate who will love me and my son, as well as allow me to have a meaningful relationship. I haven't dated any other men since I ended my romance with this single man. To be really honest, this is the first time I have ever gone on 2 dates. I'm not searching for a partner in a desperate manner right now. However, I'm confident that I'll find genuine love eventually. My son is not a member of that specific family. He's only 2 years old, and they are old enough to drive. Consequently, I don't think they're losing out on a meaningful relationship of any type right now. I understand that you would like to know who your biological family is, but I think he should be allowed to make that decision when he is old enough to have his own day. Depending on where we are in our lives at the time, it's likely that he doesn't feel the need to know those folks right now. I do not intend to mislead my child regarding his conception yet. I do not think that we need to get involved with the man's ex-wife and his now adolescent children. Most recent revision 1. Since my last post, which was 3 weeks ago, things have only gotten stranger. I recently had an affair with a man who was not my wife's husband. I really apologize for that, and I swear never to act in a similar manner again. Even though I knew it was wrong from the start, he nonetheless succeeded in getting me. I didn't know anything. I allowed myself to believe that when he told me that they were really just married on paper for the benefit of their kids. When I found out I was pregnant, I decided to keep the baby even though he tried to convince me to have an abortion. My little kid is 2 years old right now. I swore to this man that I would never tell anybody about our affair, that I would never formally recognize him as the child's father, and that I would never file for child support. I did it because I thought that a clean break with no communication with him would be best for everyone concerned. Given the mess I had produced and how I felt by the end of it, he was becoming extremely furious about the whole thing. He and his family currently live hundreds of miles away from me, therefore I moved to be closer to my family. It was about a month ago that his ex-wife contacted me on Facebook to let me know that they had been divorced for 6 months and that she would like our kids to get to know each other. I didn't really think that their teenager-aged children would want anything to do with the young child and the woman their father was having an affair with. Regretfully, I was in error. It seemed weird to me. After leaving my remarks on this page, I decided that I would not be getting back to her. I would just choose to ignore it. It wasn't like she was constantly putting pressure on me to meet with me or speak with her because she had only given me one message. On Friday night, I decided to give her a message. Honestly, I'm not sure why. I think it was solely done for my personal gain, so I might have the chance to make amends with her. Since I couldn't trust that it was her, I told her I would feel more comfortable if we spoke in person. She said she understood the circumstances. We decided to have a video chat even though I was too nervous to see her in person. Sincerely, I had no idea what to expect, if this was all just a ruse to vent her anger at me or something else entirely. In actuality, I deserve that. It wouldn't be incorrect for her to feel that way. It was, in fact, her. She told me that when our relationship ended, she discovered messages between us that convinced her we had been having an affair. She told me that she knew about someone even before he met me, and that I was one of the many people he had affairs with over the years. Despite this, she was not yet divorced when this knowledge was obtained. The last straw was when she found out about my child and eventually caved down. I said that I was sorry about my affair with her husband and that I knew he was married. I also expressed regret for my actions. Though she first had a tremendous degree of animosity toward me, she finally told me that she forgives me and held her husband accountable for the circumstances. Essentially, she decides not to hate me, even though I'm not entirely innocent. She said that she has moved past the fact that, when she first found out about me, 6 months or a year ago, she would not have been able to say this. She still harbors bitterness toward him in addition to the many other emotions that are connected to him. It was pretty difficult for me to respond to her when she started talking to me about their life together and their marriage, which had been going on for more than 20 years. Her kids are known to both my son and me. They truly are upset with their father, she says. The fact that he is not involved in my son's life doesn't seem to bother them, for whatever reason. Why would something like that cause them to become so upset? If I were in their shoes, I would hate myself. I told her that I did not think it would be suitable for my kid to engage with her children, or to be a part of their family at this time, because he is still so little. There is a feeling of ambiguity surrounding it, and I don't think it's appropriate to do it right now. She told me about her ex-husband's involvement in a catastrophic accident a few months ago. He is now fully well, but he is not yet allowed to go back to all of his usual activities. But will be all right. He is perhaps the most physically active guy I have ever met, aside from the fact that he never seems to sit down. It is obvious that he is a very annoying person to be around because he is not allowed to go at all. She told me he was interested in meeting my son. When he first got home from the hospital, it seems like she moved back in to live with him temporarily. She claims that he was greatly affected by the accident and that he has been really sorrowful about my son not being involved in the situation and not being able to support him. It appears that everything she said was false at this point, and he somehow persuaded her to get in touch with me on his behalf. Is it accurate to say that she succeeded? It was almost a relief when I struck up a conversation with her. And then you have to ask yourself, was any of that real, or were you just trying to be his messenger? Even now, I'm not even positive if that specific detail is true. Why didn't he just reach out to me by himself? Right now, I can't help but feel uneasy about the entire thing. Remarks that are important to make. Statement 1. I don't think it's important for me to be involved in my son's life through his adolescent children. Maybe after my son is mature enough to decide whether or not he wants that. His name is not on the birth certificate, and he doesn't give me child support. He's not a parent at all. I have just asked that he grant me permission to move out and not try to force me into getting an abortion. That is all. I promised him that I wouldn't get in touch with him, wouldn't adopt him as my father, and wouldn't pursue child support. If he is sincere about wanting to engage with my kid, he can reach out to me personally and take the necessary steps to establish himself as our son's father. Add one more remark. He had not rightfully taken away one of his rights. Establishing rights was never his objective in the first place. He will not be given any rights until he appears in court and proves he is the father. He is not restricted from doing that. The truth is, I wish my son had a father that showed him affection and took an active interest in his life. While this person does have some weaknesses, he also has many positive qualities. He shows a great deal of interest in his older kids. I had the chance to meet them several times since they worked with him, or because he had to drop by the office on his way someplace. He was constantly doing things with them. They seemed like well-behaved kids who loved their dad very much. If my son could take pleasure in that experience as well, it would be amazing. I didn't think it was a feasible option based on his behavior during the time I was pregnant. He wanted me and our child to go because he was uninterested. He desired for us to go. I actually completed it. In my case, I consented to it. But as of right now, he isn't officially acknowledged as my son's father. This means that, as far as my kid is concerned, he now has no legal parental rights or obligations. If he wants to establish paternity, I can't stop him from pursuing the appropriate legal actions to make that happen. He is my son's biological father and always will be. I cannot change the fact of that. Who knows? Maybe my son may be curious to find out more about his biological father. Whether he ever verifies paternity through legal channels or not, this remains true. It is feasible that they will get together in the future, regardless of the child's legal paternity. I have no way of knowing if I'll run into a man in the future who would be willing to adopt my boy and be his biological father. I have no particular interests. But it seems like it would be fun to do whatever it is. I have only gone on 2 dates since the birth of my child, and those dates were limited to the year 2024, because I chose to do so. I am conscious of the idea that it won't be as simple as signing a document. Here is the second update to my post from a few months ago. I'll just sum everything up quickly. When I was first attending college, I had an affair with a married man who was also a father. I'm carrying a baby right now. He was the one who wanted me to get an abortion. He was planning to whisk me away on vacation so that I could get an abortion. I agreed to comply with our wishes, even if I wasn't totally clear about what I intended to achieve. I told him that I couldn't go through with the abortion at the 11th hour as he was driving to come get me. To put it plainly, I felt uncomfortable with his approach and the way he was pushing everything to its conclusion. It gave me the creeps. It was then that I realized just how far I had gone with this mistake. How dysfunctional the relationship was throughout. He was furious beyond measure. He insulted me in many different ways and made me feel afraid. I informed him that I would not pursue child support or name him the child's father if he would simply leave me alone and allow me to become the mother of my child. I had gone to a distant state before I met him, but I had returned to my hometown. I never claimed him as the child's father, even though I had promised to do so, and I never made an effort to prove it. Never once have I asked for child support. My child is 2 years old now. His wife got in touch with me on social media a few months ago. She appeared first to be interested in my youngster getting to know his brothers. It seemed a little odd, given that the siblings are teenagers. She said that she had been divorced from him for 6 months. I agreed to speak with her, digitally, rather than in person. My feeling was that I should have apologized to her for what I had done. It does give me a terrible sensation. Nevertheless, as our talk came to an end, I went up to her and told her that I didn't think it was appropriate for me to introduce my son to her kids. He's a toddler, and they're in their teens. Furthermore, I informed her husband that I would not be a part of his life. That was when she told me he had been in a bad accident not too long ago, and that she had been helping to take care of him. At that point, it was said that he would be okay and that he had healed rather well, but she also said that he had shown an interest in getting to know our child. One may argue that she was his emissary. I have not spoken to her in any capacity since then. I deleted every social media account I had. I felt very uncomfortable about the whole thing, for some reason. I'm not sure why, after my earlier post on this website. After that, I received a handwritten letter from him. He expressed in the letter that he would like to meet our son. His dream is to become a father to our boy. His intention is to offer him any kind of financial support. He would like us to come see him. It was an affidavit of paternity that he asked me to sign. I declined to take part in it. I am not going to give him any easier circumstances, even if I know he is my son's father. He's at least obligated to try to earn this because of the things he said to me and the threats he made against me. My parents thought at that point that we should get some legal advice. My legal representative has been the intermediary in all of my correspondence. I have never answered him directly or personally, Ash. I've never carried it out. I currently have a court-issued paternity order. I have to submit my son tomorrow in order to acquire a specimen from him. I'm positive I know exactly what it will say. It's not that I don't think it's great that my son has a father figure in his life. Really, everything about this problem is a total disaster. He lives a few states away from where I do as well. How should I proceed? I don't know what to do. To be honest, I can't get anything done. He always acts in compliance with the law. I'm sure he would then file a petition for the child's custody or visitation after that. He is allegedly not married anymore at this time. However, compared to me, he has a far longer past. He possesses a far larger quantity of financial resources. I also know that he lives in a place where he has many different relationships. Despite the fact that I am lucky and that they are not as significant in my state, I find it really terrifying. I'm a horrible mother. I knew when I brought my baby into the world that things would not go as planned. I simply don't want to give up the fact that it's just the two of us going forward since I've grown so used to it. Now that he is separated from his ex-wife, will the father be spending more time with her and her son? Please share any relevant remarks. In order to talk about a few things in brief, it is unlikely that he will move from where he is living. There, too, he has a great deal of established. He's currently in his early 40s. I don't know how this supposed accident, if it happened at all, has affected him because he was a very physically active person when I knew him. He would take a 20-minute power nap every day and would seldom sit down, even though he slept for only around 4 hours a night. Furthermore, he demonstrated a keen interest in the lives of his offspring. To be more precise, I would say that they are overly protective, more akin to a helicopter dad than the typical helicopter mom. Welder number 4048 was reckless. I failed to see how he had the time to be dishonest. In response, the person in question moved at a speed of about 1 million miles per minute and slept for a few hours every night. And everyone joked about that. In some way, he managed to wake up at 5 in the morning, go surfing, work, drop his kids off at school, take a power nap, get coffee, pick up his kids from school and take them wakeboarding or for some other similar activity, work some more, watch his kids play basketball, and so on and so forth. Stated differently, he never, ever stopped. I was just another thing on his mind to keep him from becoming bored when he was planning out his schedule, concerning the father's relationship with his former spouse and the kids they shared. The answer derived from above. It's not that I don't think he and his wife had a meaningful relationship, I don't think it was precisely what he told me it was. Even though they lived in the same house, I get the feeling that they had totally distinct lifestyles. To keep her occupied and giving her something to do, he handed her a business to invest in. She was there for much of the time. Not even attending their kids' events together was something they did. He was the one who departed every time. This also seems to have freed up some time. She must have been relieved to get him out of the house, because I think they did not appreciate being in the same room. I found out that she knew for the most part of the time that we spent together, and she verified that I wasn't his first sexual partner. I won't go into detail about the whole thing here, but I will say that I have an extra update on how stupid I am, that I had a child as a result of an affair, and that his wife is now attempting to contact me. All of my prior posts are included in your profile. I became pregnant after having an affair with a married man. He was the one who wanted me to have an abortion. I made the choice to not desire one. I promised him that I would never formally recognize him as the child's father, and that I would not seek child support in any way. I moved to an area apart from where he and his family were residing. I've spent the last 12 hours or so apart from him since returning to my family's hometown. I have not made an effort to contact him in over 3 years. Ex-wife unexpectedly came out to me on social media, initially saying that she wanted to get in touch with me so that our kids could meet. I politely declined the offer for the time being because we live in separate states, her children are teenagers, and my son is a toddler. She acknowledged that, in reality, she was contacting us on her ex-husband's behalf. He had reportedly decided not to participate in our child's life after coming perilously close to death in an accident. I didn't communicate with her again after that moment. I found everything about it to be quite uncomfortable. He wrote me a letter after that, which I got in the mail. He asked to be engaged with and take care of our son in addition to other things. It was still strange to me. I am referring to the fact that he became quite hostile and refused to have any interaction with either me or our child. He had not made any attempt to get in touch with me for years, and I was not hiding. The fact that his wife was able to locate me on social media is evident, and my address is available on the internet. It seemed to me that if he was serious about the matter, he would put in the effort to establish paternity legally. As a matter of fact, he did it. We were given the instruction to submit DNA samples for a paternity test approximately 1.5 months ago today. Approximately 5 weeks passed before I was able to discover what I had already anticipated it would say. Nevertheless, the next stage of the legal process has been delayed for a few more weeks, and things are currently at a standstill. I have not communicated with him at any point throughout this entire process. It was not a direct response that I sent to his letter. It is true that I have a lawyer, and at this point, everything is essentially going via him. The following weekend, he suddenly showed up at my house without giving me any prior notice. They simply knocked on the door as if it were nothing at all. To put it simply, this is his son, and he does not wish to wait another 6 weeks for the court to inevitably require us to participate in some kind of custody mediation nonetheless. When he spoke, why is it that I can't easily contact him? I informed him that he was causing me discomfort, and that the very fact that he was coming to my house was causing me a great deal of discomfort. And to tell you the truth, I have no idea what caused me to feel so uneasy. The fact that he turned up without prior notice in such a manner, or the situation in which I immediately felt the same attraction to him that I experienced while I was with him, despite the fact that I did not want to feel that desire at all. A strange part of me was delighted to see him, and then another part of me was disgusted that I was happy. I don't know why I felt both of these emotions. He stated that he lacks comprehension as to why we are unable to just discuss this matter. The only thing he wants is to be part in my son's life, and to assist in providing for him, just as he ought to have been doing all along. He is not the one who is attempting to take my son away from me. When he was born, he wishes he had been there to witness it. He expresses regret for the manner in which he responded to my refusal to comply with his intentions to take me on a trip that would involve an abortion. I don't see why I can't accept that all he wants to do is parent his child. My assumption is that I concur with him. I don't understand why I can't just accept the fact that he has changed his mind. I know I can't rely on myself, because I cannot rely on my own judgment. But it seems to me that if I allow him to readily enter my son's life, I will eventually come to regret my decision and will be made to look foolish in some way. Whenever it comes to him, I have already committed a great number of errors. According to him, it is foolish of me to not make an effort to resolve the issue amongst ourselves first. I am agreeing to give the court a great deal of control. It is difficult for me to decide whether I should believe that, or whether I should assume that it is just his technique of getting me to do what he wants. It is certain that he will be granted visitation and, eventually, custody of the child. It is possible that it would be more beneficial if we made an effort to reach a consensus nevertheless. He had the power to easily sway my opinion. When it comes to him, I utterly lack intelligence. In all of my years, no one else has ever made me feel as silly as I do now. I hope that my son will have a father figure in his life. I will freely acknowledge that my desire to keep him away is undoubtedly somewhat self-centered. The thought of having to spend weeks or months away from my child, while he is living with his father 12 hours away, is something that I just can't stand to contemplate. I can't even bear the thought of it. That's all I'm feeling right now, dejected, dumb, and sad. This post has pertinent remarks about whether or not the father is genuinely divorced from his wife. In response to your question, I examined the county records, and it appears that they in fact divorced. Mammoth Mite 8171 is the mite in question. There is a time when you have to put your faith in your attorney, and I hope that he is a good one. Check that your attorney has all of the relevant information, in addition to the manner in which he behaved toward you when he discovered that you were pregnant. Maintain no further communication with your former partner, especially considering the fact that you are aware of the fact that you are unable to make sound choices when he is involved. It is possible that you will need to mentally prepare yourself for the fact that your ex-spouse will eventually play a role in the lives of your child, despite the fact that this is upsetting. If you are able to pursue him for back child support, it would be an excellent answer. My attorney has access to any and all information that I might have been required to disclose. I have already begun to get myself ready for the possibility that he will play a part in the lives of my child. That is to say, the transition is going to be challenging for me, and to tell you the truth, I do not want anything to change. Nevertheless, I am making an effort to concentrate on whatever sliver of a positive effect that this may have for my son. He ought to have a father. I really wish that it wasn't in this predicament. The ideal situation would have been for me to provide him with two loving parents and a solid partnership. I wish that I had at least provided him with a father who did not reside in another state. Both of my son's parents are liars and cheaters, and that makes me feel terrible. However, with the birth of my baby, I have been experiencing a new level of embarrassment regarding our behavior. I honestly do feel so embarrassed about it. With the exception of that whole issue and the fact that, according to his ex-wife, he has allegedly had affairs with a number of different women, he appears to be a fantastic father to his children who are in their teenage years, on a consistent basis. He was highly active with them. I suppose that all I'm doing is attempting to cling to any or all of the positive things that come to mind. Also, he is able to contribute a great deal more financially than I am able to at the moment. Personally, I find that to be quite unsettling since I am already imagining that we are engaged in some kind of rivalry with one another. I have no points, but he has a few at his disposal. Additionally, my son is a very shy person. In the absence of either myself or one of my parents, he does not perform as well as he should, in spite of the fact that I am only now beginning to engage him in more activities with other children and adults who are trustworthy and secure. He continues to cling to me. When I consider the possibility of him running into an unknown individual, my heart breaks. Not only does he not know, but I am also not present. I would like to be present there. On top of that, I believe that is how things typically work out for him. Not only that, but to tell you the truth, I used to be the same way with him as well. All you need to do is comply with his demands. Upon his arrival in person, it was clear that he had been anticipating my presence. It appeared as though he was truly startled when I did not immediately comply with both of his demands. There is a good chance that the former version of myself would have. This is the answer to the question of how the father was able to locate her address. In the past, he had written me a letter and mailed it to me. I searched for myself on Google, and my address was quickly found. After moving away, I must confess that I did not make any attempt to conceal my identity. It didn't seem relevant to me to do so. As a result of his lack of desire in being involved with our child, I made a commitment to never get in touch with him again. That was the last thing I thought would happen. When I spoke to his ex-wife, she informed me that he had been involved in a serious accident. Given his interests, this should not come as much of a surprise. At a speed of almost 200 miles per minute, he lives his life. It was necessary for her to relocate back into their home in order to provide care for him while he was recuperating, as she stated. When he arrived, he did not appear to be someone who had been involved in a life-threatening event not too long before. He appeared to be in good general health. In spite of the fact that he will most likely continue to struggle with back problems for the rest of his life, he has informed me that he has completely recovered. Op was asked about the possibility of establishing a visiting schedule with the father of her son. The fact that he has not been involved in his child's life for the past 3 years, according to my attorney, will not be a significant factor in the court's decision to create a graduated visitation plan. This is based on the fact that my son does not know this man. Having a child who is raised by both of their parents is their ultimate aim. The fact that I did not identify him as the father at birth, or make any attempt to establish paternity in any manner, was a mistake that I made about myself. If I had done that, and he had opposed it, neglected to pay court-ordered child support, and other such things, then we could have a better case when it comes to abandonment. The fact that he is making an effort to establish paternity at this time, that he is prepared to pay child support, and that he is probably going to tell the court that he wants to see his child is going to reflect favorably on him, despite the fact that he has not been active for 3 years. Latest information is here. I won't even go there because everyone was upset with me for sharing a review of my predicament in my prior blogs. I won't even go there. You are welcome to read my earlier postings if you are curious about the history of the situation. All I will tell is that I am the mother of a son who is 3 years old and was created from an affair that I had with a man who was married. After initially requiring me to make a commitment that I would not contact him, that I would not identify him as the father, and that I would not ask for child support, the father of my child has been making efforts to get involved in our son's life over the course of the past few months. Recently, he made an appearance at my residence in an effort to persuade me to negotiate the matter directly with him. He lives in a different state than I do right now. During the period that I have not posted, we have just participated in a mediation session, and he has had 2 encounters with our son. During this time, he will be present for supervised visitation, which will be taking place. We are compelled to bring him here to see our son, despite the fact that he lives in a different state. As a result of the journey, it will not be on a weekly basis. There will be a total of 4 visits every month, including 2 video conversations, and he will see him during 2 weeks of the month, twice per week, for a total of 4 visits per month. This will continue for a period of 6 months. In the following phase, he will continue to adhere to that schedule, but he will be required to have unsupervised visits during which he will not be able to remove him from the surroundings for another half a year. After a year, we came to an agreement that we would hold another mediation session in order to establish the following steps of the aim, which was for him to be able to have my son stay at his house for a short period of time overnight. Not even close to being ready to talk about that. Right now, he is already suggesting that I could come for the initial several occasions. The way that it sounds is in no way appealing to me. Additionally, we have the ability to request another mediation session prior to the year's end, but I have a feeling that he is going to decline that choice. Moreover, I am in possession of a child support order. In spite of the fact that he is in agreement with the arrangement of paying child support, it will be necessary for it to go through the legal process before it can become official, and before I can begin receiving the regular payment. For the time being, he drafted a substantial check for me. At first, I was apprehensive to agree to it. This is not to imply that I do not believe that my son is deserving of it, rather. I am constantly concerned that I will say, or do something that is legally incorrect, absolutely unwittingly, and thereby shoot myself in the foot. In other words, by taking this check, am I subjecting both myself and my son to any form of obligation? Is there a way that he may turn this against me? Things goes without saying that Dad was not in favor of the 6-month plan, and while he does get that my son should not just run off with a stranger upon first meeting him, he does wish that we could hurry things up a little bit more. However, we were able to reach a consensus on the 6-month plan. In order for him to spend a week or 2 getting to know our son, he wanted to fly us both to his place of residence. However, I do not believe that now is an acceptable moment for him to pursue this plan. The timing may be around the holidays or in a few months, depending on how things are going at the moment. If it were to happen, it would be too soon. It turned out that the first 2 sessions went pretty much exactly as I had anticipated they would. He is a very reserved young man. Almost all of the time, he desired to conceal himself behind me. After that, whenever he would come out from behind me, he would become quite agitated as soon as his father would say anything to him. Without making any sound, he would swiftly retreat behind me and stare blankly at his father without uttering a single word. Despite the fact that he has made some progress in coming out of his shell, he has not yet spoken a single word to his father. The only person he communicates with is me, and he acts as if his father is not present. As far as that is concerned, I will add that his father has shown patience and understanding. He is not displaying any signs of frustration, if he is, in lieu of spending a significant amount of time with me and my parents. He did make the suggestion that perhaps our son ought to spend more time exploring the world, attending daycare, or even preschool. Not only does he have a strong preference for our son over me, but he is also very pleased with how much our son resembles him. The one thing that did disturb me was the fact that I had already told him that I wanted to be very careful and aware of how we notified our kid, who is only a little over 3 years old, that this man who is a complete stranger is his father. Sure, he responded. That's fine. After that, he revealed himself as the father during the initial encounter. Since that time, I have been making an effort to assist my son with comprehending. For example, you know how your grandfather is my father, and this individual is your father. The fact that any of this is taking place is just hard for me to believe. I can't help but feel as though I'm expecting the other shoe to fall. Although I am currently waiting for something to blow up in my face, I am currently working on accepting the new reality that we are living in. My son is having a difficult time adjusting to all of this change, and I am also having a difficult time. In the event that he truly messes up, I anticipate that we will eventually spend time together, with my kid spending school breaks and holidays at his father's house, which is located in a different state and is a significant distance away. It will not take place tomorrow, but it will take place in the reality that is most likely to occur. Only hope that he maintains his dedication. This is something that my child deserves if he is capable of being a decent father to my child. Despite the fact that it makes me feel sad to share him. If he were to shatter the heart of my son, that would be a different issue. And this is something that I would not readily accept. On the relevant statements made by the op on the instances in which her kid is required to travel to visit his father and the decisions that the courts are making, the answer is that they have not yet ordered him to travel to his father in his state. But it is likely that this will occur in the future. Referring to students in elementary school, 675 is the worldly promise. Given the circumstances, I really hope that everything turns out as well as it possibly can. There is no doubt that your son and his health are of the utmost importance. There does not appear to be much of a change in the baby daddy because he is an extremely demanding person who does not appreciate boundaries. His answer is that he is accustomed to getting his way. I'm doing all in my power to not just give in but also figure out how to make concessions. Do you have any concerns, Emalela, about the possibility that he would also try to promote the concept of a romantic reconciliation? I get the impression that you are concentrating on your son, while he is concentrating on acquiring what he wants. The solution from above. No, I am not sure. This is not the impression that he has actually left on me. I have received compliments from him. He has made an effort to bring to my memory some of the enjoyable times that we shared together. From my perspective, however, I see all of it as part of his schmoozing to simply get me to do what he wants, and not to get back together with me. Oh, P, she is going to talk to a therapist about her son. My answer is a P. Yes, I am currently in the process of locating a therapist for him. In retrospect, I see that I ought to have initiated that procedure before to the occurrence of all of this. You are appreciated for watching. If you have not yet subscribed, please do so and make sure to hit the notification bell so that you can remain informed about other stunning real-life tales that are occurring in your immediate vicinity.